when it's time to make a career decision, our confidence is much greater if we've taken more time in prayer and meditation. The Spirit of God will give clarity.
Amen. And thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Audrey Williams. Choosing a career is not an easy task, but with proper guidance, some people have chosen the right path. Today we look at how our current and historical educational contributors have paved the way for us and future generations by pursuing their ambitions. So, stay tuned. We'll be back after the news.
The powers that are given to us under the state of public emergency are on top of all of the other law enforcement things we do. So Operation Relentless continues. In certain spaces where violence is significant, we add in emergency powers on top of that. The combination of all of that gives us the results we need. The state of emergency allows us to impact the people who intelligence says are doing violence.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry and this is your JIS News for Friday, February 10, 2023. Residents of Garvey St. Thomas are awash with relief after the Fraser Hill storage tank replacement project was commissioned into service earlier this week. The glass-fused to steel bolted tank, which has a storage capacity of 50,000 gallons, will provide water to approximately 4,500 residents. The $20 million facility is part of the capital works being carried out by the National Water Commission, NWC. Minister with responsibility for water, Senator Matthew Samuda, says every parish benefited from the NWC's capital works in 2022, and the same is planned for this year.
When we looked at the capital works that will be announced in the Prime Minister's budget later this year, I can safely tell you that once again, not only will we be in every parish, but we will be no more than 5 kilometers from almost every single township in Jamaica with capital works this year, a feat also that hasn't been achieved. What you're seeing is a bit of the renaissance for the National Water Commission.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has given instructions for a program to be developed with appropriate measures for the meteorological drought currently facing the country. That was revealed by Minister with responsibility for water, Senator Matthew Samuda, at the commissioning of the Fraser Hill storage tank replacement project. He says an announcement will be made in the coming weeks on the steps to be taken in response to the drought. The response will include national public education to ensure that everyone is on board.
Our rainfall rather is down to the point where we classify it as meteorological drought. We're at the point where inflows are below outflows. So we're seeing depletion certainly in our major systems at a rate that we don't want to see. We're not going to wait until things are chronic in the way that we used to and take action after.
Residents are being urged to conserve water and report leaks to the NWC. Government is a step closer to developing legislation for a robust social enterprise sector. Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Dr. Norman Dunn, made the disclosure recently.
We are now undertaking the prerequisite critical consultation with stakeholders to finalize the Cabinet submission, after which we will continue to robustly pursue the completion through the stages of the legislative process and its passage.
The social enterprise sector comprises organizations with an objective of contributing to societal well-being and includes foundations, associations, not-for-profit organizations, and cooperatives. Dr. Dunn says the proposed legislation will allow players in this sector to benefit from many of the incentives now being provided to other businesses in the formal economy.
Critically, this includes being able to trade on the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange and access financing, which is very critical for your success.
Dr. Dunn was addressing the closeout ceremony for the British Council's Investment Climate Reform ICR facility project at the Spanish Court Hotel in New Kingston. The legal framework for Jamaica's social enterprise sector is being developed through a partnership involving the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce and the Planning Institute of Jamaica with support from the European Union. 11 female entrepreneurs, primarily from Manchester and St. Elizabeth, have received equipment, tools and other inputs to kickstart their operations. The items were provided through a grant of 25,000 Canadian dollars from the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives, CFLI. They were officially handed over during an entrepreneurship showcase held recently at Zorn Moravian Church Hall in Christiana. The beneficiaries were successful business pitch competition winners who participated in the Young Women or Men of Purpose Entrepreneurship Training Program. The program is based in Manchester and course facilitators include experts from various fields as well as agencies that provide support for entrepreneurs. During the recent showcase, Member of Parliament for Manchester North Eastern, Audley Shaw, lauded the initiative and commended the women on the range and quality of products on display. Government is making prostate cancer testing more widely available to men as it seeks to reduce the disease burden on the population. The National Health Fund, in partnership with the Jamaica Cancer Society, recently signed contracts with 3 laboratories to carry out the prostate-specific antigen PSA tests for NHF card beneficiaries. The contracts were signed with Central Medical, Biomedical, and Fleet Diagnostic. Pointing to the initiative's importance, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in Jamaican men, and the low take-up of screening is a major risk factor.
Most people discover it when it is too late because they do not screen. And so what the NHF is attempting to do, partnering with the Jamaica Cancer Society, is to offer to Jamaicans an option, an easy option, a free option. Once you have an NHF card, once you register with the NHF, as a man, you are entitled to do at least once a year a prostate exam.
The prostate-specific antigen PSA test is a new addition to the NHF Individual Benefits Program through a $1,600 subsidy. It is given to men 40 years of age and older with an NHF card. Approximately 1,500 Jamaican men are diagnosed with prostate cancer each year. And finally, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is urging lifestyle changes to prevent kidney disease in the face of treatment barriers. This is due to the large number of renal issues facing the population, which has resulted in less space and equipment for patients with kidney disease. Dr. Tufton made the appeal during a recent tour of the Katie Hu Hemodialysis Renal Unit at Spanish Town Hospital.
I'm here not just to see the new developments and to encourage the staff, but also to make an appeal to the public around the lifestyle practices. Because what we are seeing is that NCDs are non-communicable diseases, hypertension, diabetes, renal failure, cardiovascular disease, strokes and so on, are becoming more dominant in our population and are occupying our hospital beds, and indeed, most importantly, are a major debilitating factor for our citizens.
4 months ago, the renal unit at Spanish Town Hospital received 10 refurbished hemodialysis machines from Renal Dynamics, a medical supply store in the United States. The nearly $30 million infrastructure development was funded by the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports and Education Chase Fund. It is expected to relieve the hospital's waiting list of over 400 kidney patients. And that is it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Parenting need to be strengthened. Parenting. Parents must take charge. We cannot have people becoming parents and you are weak. You cannot allow a gang leader to take your child. I only have these children when they come to me, when the parents send them to me. So, these are your children. How dare you give them over to gang members? You must, and the whole family, must be in charge of the children. Children are children, and they need to be nurtured. We must take control until we hand over to them. That is what needs to be done.
The Ministry of Education and Youth has put in place a technology tool to help teachers make their lessons more engaging for students. Want to know more about that tool? Our upcoming feature will give you some insight.
Whoopee!
Hello there, I'm Shauna Murray. As a teacher, I like simple tools that make my lessons more engaging and help my students to love learning. This is why I love the Mimeo. But don't just take my word for it. Let's take a journey today with Mrs. Stephen Stewart of St. Andrew Primary School, Mrs. Paulette Bailey of Granville Primary School, and Mrs. Rachel Whittingham of Flankers Primary School, and see how they use this tool in their daily classes.
Listen to the story. It is giving you information about polygons, and so you have information you must get from the story to put on your sheets. Are you ready?
Yes.
In using the Mimeo in the typical classroom, like Mrs. Bailey, you may experience some glitches, but she has shown us how to quickly recalibrate and move on.
Who could possibly be in your story? You're going to go and write it in the Who cloud.
We see that the Mimeo tool is handy for Mrs. Bailey and for Mrs. Stevens Stewart. But how do the teachers themselves feel about the use of this technology?
Love technology. Pretty new to it. I have never had an experience with it, so I was very much new to it. But I really welcomed it wholeheartedly because I was at the slow class, you know. The class to the children really, they were not so strong as other children.
Mrs. Whittingham bridges the use of the tool with the personable strategies of a caring teacher, ensuring all are included. The Mimeo has a wide range of content to make planning and instruction quick and easy. Venn diagrams, preloaded tables, charts, pictures, to name a few. It is a student and teacher-friendly tool. Today, we have seen how the Mimeo tool can be used to bring literacy techniques to life.
As we said earlier, it is a path paved by our ancestors that we must walk and extend to realize our own dreams and aspirations. It's not his birthday or any such special occasion, but he is one of the many from whom we can learn. So, let's look at this hero's chosen path and find inspiration for the road ahead.
On August 17, 1887, in the quiet town of St. Anne's Bay, 50 years after emancipation, the son of a Maroon was born, one who refused to accept the injustices he observed around him as he grew up. While attending school, he developed a healthy appetite for reading, fed by his small library at home. Unable to attend high school because of financial difficulties, Garvey at age 14 became an apprentice printer for his godfather, Mr. Burroughs. 2 years later, he joined the staff of P.A. Benjamin in Kingston as a printer and quickly became a foreman. But after having joined a workers' strike at the plant, he was relieved of his job. After a brief stint at the government's printing office, he started his own paper, The Watchman. It folded because of poor financing. At an early age, Garvey began championing the cause of black redemption, leading the way for the universal freedom of the black diaspora. He became actively involved in politics, cultural organization, and the trade union movement, and developed a passion for journalism, printing, and publishing. At the age of 20, Garvey made a life-changing commitment.
I ask myself, where is the black man's government? Where is his king and his kingdom? Where is his president, his country, and ambassadors, his army, his men of big affairs?
Garvey could not find the answer, and so took on the task of helping blacks at home and abroad to create their own nation. In 1910, he joined his uncle in Costa Rica and traveled extensively throughout South and Central America, where he observed and was deeply touched by the poor conditions in which West Indian workers lived. Later, he traveled to England and continued his studies in journalism. While there, he consolidated the thoughts and philosophy that he would use to call the Negroes of the world to action. At the age of 27, 5 days after he returned from England, Marcus Mosiah Garvey founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities Imperial League. The focus of the organization was to unite all the black peoples of the world and to establish a country and government that was absolutely and uniquely their own. Garvey's movement ran into trouble with the local authorities and was rejected by the Jamaican people. Undaunted, he traveled to the United States. After visiting several states, he settled in New York. From there, Garvey established several branches of the UNIA across the country, and by 1920, the movement registered over 4 million members. At its peak, the UNIA had over 11 million registered members in 859 branches in over 30 countries. On June 27, 1919, the economic arm of Garvey's liberation movement was incorporated, the Black Star Line. This enterprise was meant to create jobs and business opportunities for millions of blacks worldwide. The business did well in the first year, but ran into financial difficulties soon afterwards. Garvey, his movement and his philosophy ran into problems with the United States authorities. He was jailed and deported to Jamaica. Garvey returned to Jamaica to a tumultuous welcome by a large and enthusiastic crowd. He wasted no time in organizing a political movement. He founded the People's Political Party in 1929, the first modern political party in Jamaica. Perhaps Garvey's most outstanding contribution in the quest for the universal emancipation of the black race was his lifelong, unrelenting efforts to unite and uplift the black race through a program of self-reliance and education. The thoughts and ideas of Marcus Garvey evolved into a social, political, spiritual, and economic blueprint for the successful development of a black nation. He advocated Africa for the Africans. He encouraged blacks to be proud of themselves and of their history, and for them to be self-reliant and strong. In shaping the political destiny of the black nation, the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, adopted at the First International Convention of Negro Peoples held during the month of August 1920 in New York, was a radical document. As a legal instrument, it ranked alongside the Magna Carta and the United States Constitution in that it affirmed and demanded redress for the injustices heaped upon a despised and rejected people by the entire world. The convention was attended by over 25,000 members and delegates from all over the world and demonstrated the power and reach of Garvey's movement. But most of all, it signaled the growing solidarity of the Negro peoples of the world. Garvey called for the emancipation of the mind at the 6th Negro Convention in 1929, held at Edelweiss Park in Kingston. He declared then that after the physical emancipation of slaves, the UNIA should create a second emancipation, an emancipation of the minds and thoughts of the 400 million Negroes of the world. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was not able to totally emancipate his people from their social, economic, and political bonds in his lifetime, but he certainly planted the seeds of black liberation and redemption across the globe, and the world has not been the same since.
Marcus Garvey words come to pass.
Greatness is in your bones.
I'm unstoppable. I'm a butcher with no brains. I'm invincible. Yeah, I win every single game.
We're looking for great things this season, and I know you believe it within your very core. And so we have committed to continue the support behind you and in front of you and beside you so that you can excel and you can do well and you can be your best self.
I'm unstoppable. I'm a butcher with no brains. I'm invincible. Yeah, I win every single game.
Aquaculture is one of the world's fastest growing food production sectors, and Jamaica is diving into the deep end. Take a look.
Fishing, the simple act of casting a line with a bait in the hopes of catching a nibble from a fish, has been an essential aspect of human civilization since hunter-gatherer times, and is one of the few food production activities that have survived from prehistory to modern day. Today, it has evolved to become yet another source of income for many, including our own fisherfolk. But how is fisheries regulated? Enter Jamaica's National Fisheries Authority (NFA), an agency under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. The NFA is entrusted with overseeing, regulating, and preserving the fisheries industry while working to improve the fishermen's fishing experiences and incomes. A critical focus area of the NFA has been aquaculture. This is the breeding, growing, and harvesting of fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants, or the act of farming in water. This means our tilapia and oyster farmers are at the heart of Jamaica's aquaculture practice. In addition to regulating the sector and providing support, the NFA has also taken on the task of educating and encouraging Jamaicans about the benefits of tilapia farming as another approach to boosting local fish production and reducing stress on reef fish.
The reef fish, that is fish caught in the reefs in and around the Jamaica's shoreline, that population is decreasing. And our fishermen will tell you that when they go out, they have to go further and further out to get a decent crop of fish to sustain themselves. Tilapia has been grown in Jamaica since the 1940s. Its fortunes have ebbed and waned with time. And so here we are now trying to promote it, to push it, to get people to not only eat it, but to get people to also produce it.
As a result, the National Fisheries Authority has begun to employ different creative approaches to increase tilapia production and consumption. The upcoming cooking competition is one of those approaches which aims to highlight the different ways tilapia can be enjoyed. While the NFA continues working to expand aquaculture, effort is also being made to revitalize reef fishing. An initiative to train fishermen for pelagic or deep-sea fishing is part of that drive. A technique in which a fish aggregation device, FAD, is strategically placed to attract pelagic fish, allowing fishermen to fish beyond reefs, is also being explored as a more cost-effective method. The creation of fish sanctuaries has also been essential to the sustainability of Ori fish. Fish sanctuaries are no-fishing zones developed to conserve the bay's breeding grounds and fish habitats while progressively increasing the fish population in the neighboring regions.
We are seeking to develop production of shrimp, production of oysters, production of sea moss, or Irish moss as we call it here in Jamaica. And so there is a huge development towards the aquaculture industry because, as I said, the sea product is declining. Aquaculture is the saving grace, if you will, of Jamaica's fisheries endeavors because it has so much potential for growth and development.
And not only will aquaculture contribute to the improvement of fish habitats and the rebuilding of stocks of threatened or endangered species, it will also assist to feed the nation today and for the foreseeable future.
Are you in high school and ready to take the next step toward determining your best career path? Here's some advice from someone who has walked in shoes like yours.
As young people, we have a lot of opportunities worldwide, and it is good to set yourself a goal. Do not let any individuals, direct you off that path with negative thoughts. So it is best to just keep focused on one thing, and then you just see where that goes.
You might want to start by examining your own personal self-development goals, as Rajay did.
My personal self-development objective is to complete Childhood Teachers College in my bachelor degree of early childhood education.
Always prioritize your short-term goals before tackling anything else. Remember that you are exactly where you need to be and that you are doing your best with what you have. We've reached the end of our program. Get a recap of everything you saw here and more on our website, jis.gov.jm. Remember, gratitude is a must. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Audrey Williams. Bye for now.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.